In the implementation of the Sustainable Development Goals, sustainable financing, strategic policies and impact programs are major requirements. Against this background, reinforcing government and stakeholders' commitment towards financing the SDGs in Nigeria has become more expedient. In line with this, President Muhammadu Buhari, Friday, 23rd September 2022, launched Nigeria's Integrated National Financing Framework (INFF) for the sustainable development at the margins of the 77th session of the United Nations General Assembly in New York. Proposed within the border of the Addis Ababa Action Agenda, the Integrated National Financing Framework (INFF) is a planning and delivery tool to finance sustainable development at the national level. The INFF helps policymakers lay out a strategy to increase investments for sustainable development, manage financial and non-financial risk, and ultimately achieve sustainable development priorities, while a country's national development plan spells out what needs to be financed. The INFF shows how it will be financed and implemented. For Nigeria, the INFF is also expected to help in the recovery from the effect of COVID-19 pandemic, as well as help address lack of an integrated approach to financing SDGs, which has been a key challenge to meeting the financing requirement, estimated at $100 billion over the next 10 years. Speaking at the strategic high-level launch, President Muhammadu Buhari restated the commitment of his administration to the achievement of inclusive, broad-based and sustainable development. The president noted that Nigeria adopted the INFF as a tool to improve the financing of SDGs without increasing public debt and contingent liabilities to levels that will be detrimental to economic sustainability.
Today's event marked the end of a long process which began in 2020 when the steering committee and the co-working group on Nigeria's Integrated National Financing Framework were inaugurated. The Integrated National Financing Framework has been developed to map out a much-needed sustainable financing plan for Nigeria to deliver on our commitment to the SDGs and our national development aspirations. Despite the challenges posed by the sharp drop in the prices of crude oil and the coronavirus pandemic, Nigeria has remained resolute in our genuine desire to maintain and grow our economy. The 2017 to 2020 Economic Recovery and Growth Plan, the 2020 Economic Sustainability Plan, the 2021 National Poverty Reduction with Growth Strategy, and the 21 to 25 to 2025 National Development are all aligned with the SDGs. It is in line with this commitment and with a focus on the National Development Plan 2021 to 2025 that the federal government of Nigeria, with the support of the United Nations Development Program, has adopted the Integrated National Financing Framework as a tool to improve SDGs financing without increasing public debt and contingent liabilities to levels that will be detrimental to economic sustainability.
He further noted that as part of its commitment to sustainable and inclusive development, his administration aligned its 2017 to 2020 Economic Recovery and Growth Plan (ERGP), the 2020 Economic Sustainable Plan (ESP), and the 2021 National Poverty Reduction with Growth Strategy (NPRGS), and the 2021 to 2025 National Development Plan (NDP) with the SDGs.
It is in line with this commitment and with a focus on the National Development Plan 2021 to 2025, that the federal government of Nigeria, with the support of the United Nations Development Program, has adopted the Integrated National Financing Framework as a tool to improve SDGs financing without increasing public debt and contingent liabilities to levels that will be detrimental to economic sustainability. The Integrated National Financing Framework financing strategy is backed by our medium-term revenue strategy and the medium-term expenditure framework. As Nigeria champions the Integrated National Financing Framework process, we hope to promote the strategic alignment of financial policies with sustainable development and provide the enabling conditions for domestic and international, public and private financial actors to best respond to our national needs. The federal government will continue to promote strong partnerships and synergies among its ministries, departments, and agencies and developmental partners for a coordinated implementation of the SDGs in Nigeria.
He commended the Federal Ministry of Finance, Budget and National Planning, the Office of the Senior Special Assistant to the President on Sustainable Development Goals, and the United Nations Development Programme for working together to develop Nigeria's INFF in a process which started in 2020.
Let me commend the Federal Ministry of Finance, Budget and National Planning, the Office of the Senior Special Assistant to the President on Sustainable Development Goals, and the United Nations Development Program for their joint leadership in the entire Integrated National Financing Framework process in Nigeria.
The 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development presents an ambitious, complex, and interconnected vision that countries around the world have committed to working towards. Realizing this vision will require mobilization of a diverse range of public and private resources. The INFF is a tool to help countries strengthen planning processes and overcome existing impediments to financing sustainable development at the national level. It helps governments and their partners to build more integrated approaches to financing that strengthen the alignment between public and private investment and longer-term sustainable development objectives, and build greater coherence across governance of public and private financing policies. This position was echoed by the Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning, Ms. Zainab Ahmed.
Nigeria decided to adopt the INFF as a tool to improve SDG financing without increasing public debt and contingent liabilities to levels that are detrimental to economic sustainability. This financing strategy is backed by a medium-term revenue strategy and a medium-term expenditure framework. It is further supported by a clear roadmap and monitoring framework and includes guidance on governance, coordination to provide a holistic approach with the necessary transparency and accountability which is necessary to measure the successful implementation of the initiative.
In her welcome remarks, Princess Adejoke Orilokpe Adefulire, the Senior Special Assistant to the President on SDGs, described the launch of the INFF report as a significant milestone in the commitment and efforts to achieve the SDGs in Nigeria. She noted that the INFF is in line with Nigeria's strategic approach to the implementation of the SDGs, working at the national and sub-national levels, adding that at the national level, her office has worked closely with the federal ministries, departments and agencies, MDAs, to integrate the SDGs into their sectoral policies and plans, while also working closely with the 36 states and the Federal Capital Territory (FCT) at the sub-national level to mainstream the SDGs into their medium and long-term development policies and plans. She noted that her office, with the support of UNDP, has supported 16 states to develop SDG-based development plans as part of Nigeria's mainstreaming acceleration and policy support MAPS for the agenda. The INFF report, she added, was also another feat recorded by the country in the bid to institutionalize the SDGs, noting Nigeria was the first country in the global south to have successfully completed a country-led independent evaluation of SDG 3 on quality health and well-being for all, and SDG 4 on qualitative and inclusive education and lifelong learning for all. The two reports, she said, were officially launched on the 25th of August 2022. The presidential advisor noted that on the 21st of December 2021, Nigeria became the first African country to successfully realign its national statistical system with the requirement and indicators of the SDGs. Hence, the country will now be able to track progress on the 230 key performance indicators of the agenda on an annual basis through the National Bureau of Statistics. Orilokpe Adefolire further noted that in 2019, Nigeria successfully domesticated Integrated Sustainable Development Goals Simulation Model (ISDG model) as a homegrown analytical tool for evidence-based SDGs policymaking and planning, with the report launched on the margins of the 74th session of the United Nations General Assembly by the President.
I am proud to see that working with all the MDs at the national level, working with all the 36 state governors at the sub-national level, and when at the 774 local government, to coordinate the SDG programs all across the country and report to the UN. We have successfully, in 2017, reported the voluntary national review of Nigeria, even though we are in recession, and the world under the UN acknowledged and praised the Nigerian government for that gesture. And again in 2020, we rendered the second voluntary national review. The framework on SDG was adopted, and all the action plan that was expected of Nigeria was done. As today, we are ahead of many countries, even though we are Nigeria and we are Africa. We have scored many firsts. And just last month, Nigeria became the first country in the global south to have launched the evaluation report on SDG 3 and 4, which has never happened in the global south. We also launched early this year the National Bureau of Statistics worked together with us to launch the basic on how the tracking of SDG will be done within our country before we expect what comes in from the United Nations. Nigeria recorded the first. And again on IFF, we are recording another first as a country. Mr. President, we have coordinated about 18 state governments to integrate the Sustainable Development Goals in their policy program and budget. And we are working more. Believe that before the end of our administration, we'll be able to cover the 36 states and FCT, so that all of us will work in tandem with the aspiration of Sustainable Development Goals. Sustainable Development Goal is about people, it's about peace, it's about prosperity, it's about partnership and our planet. All these must be put into consideration, and I want to thank Mr. President and all the service chiefs, all the security agencies for working so hard to bring back peace to Nigeria. Without peace, nothing can be achieved.
She expressed appreciation and profound gratitude to the President for accepting to launch the report, as well as all the institutional members of the National Steering Committee and the Core Working Group on Nigeria's INFF for the commitment demonstrated during the design phase.
I thank you, Mr. President, for finding time to be here personally, as we did in 2019, where we launched the ISDG model, the analytical tool that we used to develop our budget for 2017 to 2020, and it's what is the document we are using for 2020 to 2025. We'll continue to work hard to make you proud, and we'll continue to make Nigeria proud.
The event, which was attended by the representatives from the United Nations, some Nigerian state governors among others, attracted encomiums from guests and participants. The Deputy Secretary General of the United Nations, Amina J. Mohammed, and other guests at the launch lauded the initiative and encouraged proper implementation.
I'm glad to see my own country, its leadership, Nigeria, leading the way not only in Africa, but also at the global level. As the largest economy on the African continent, with an enormous untapped demographic dividend, Nigeria has so much to gain. The country's innovative and deep entrepreneurial spirit can be a driving force for a just energy transition, poverty reduction, and leveraging the Continental Free Trade Agreement. Making the most of this opportunity requires massive investments in people. It also requires unleashing the power of the private sector as an engine of growth, enabled by appropriate policy frameworks, efficient institutions, and effective regulatory mechanisms that allow business to flourish. In this regard, Nigeria's well-articulated INFF holds the key to reveal funding gaps, as well as the possibilities to increase finance flows for development from a wide range of sources. Tapping into the full range of financing would have a number of positive effects. This includes potentially raising Nigeria's tax-to-GDP ratio from the current low level of 6% to the African average of 16.6%. This would be a tremendous boost and could lift 100 million people out of poverty by 2030. Imagine also the growth potential if Nigeria could harness a greater share of private financing flows for development, including FDI and remittances, by providing an enabling environment that guarantees institutional efficiency, reduces corruption, and offers cost-effective fund transfer mechanisms. These are just a few of the potential wins for the Nigerian economy as a result of this new framework. Now it's up to policymakers and key partners across Nigeria to make the most of this opportunity. Across all of this work, the United Nations proudly stands with Nigerians to support them as they tap into these opportunities and take the next steps in the country's amazing journey.
I'm very proud and honored to be a partner with Nigeria. Nigeria has made important progress in that today it has a functioning INFF steering committee, a core working group, and has completed the INFF report. In addition, the integrated national financing strategy has been formulated. Nigeria also went a step further to include a framework for fiscal decentralization, noting that development often takes place at the local level. I highly commend the government of Nigeria and its key partners, including the European Union, IMF, the World Bank, other DFIs, the private sector, and other members of the steering committee. These partners have provided oversight, guidance, and co-creation, and contributed to the successful completion of the INFF report, and critically initiating implementation of its policy recommendations. Mr. President, Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, I firmly believe that if Nigeria, the most populous country on the continent and the largest economy in Africa, succeeds in its efforts to achieve the SDGs, it will be a tremendous boost to other countries on the continent and in fact in the world.
The INFF was designed to help the Nigerian government explore innovative financing options, linking government with private sector and development partners to increase public revenue and private investments. We are very pleased to be part of this journey and of this event today to celebrate the launch of Nigeria's INFF. Let me take this opportunity to praise Nigeria for the efforts undertaken towards the achievement of the 2030 Agenda and the SDGs, and for the key milestone that you have achieved. In September 2019, 16 countries committed to pioneer the development and implementation of INFFs, and Nigeria was among them. Now Nigeria has successfully designed its INFF strategy and is offering a leading example for INFF progress towards a more systematic, holistic approach to achieve sustainable development objectives. We stand ready to continue to support Nigeria in this critical endeavor and look forward to our future cooperation with the government and all our partners on this key initiative.
Nigeria committed to be a champion of INFF and officially kicked off the design process as an INFF pioneer country in 2020. To steer the implementation process, Nigeria set up the INFF Steering Committee chaired by the Ministry of Finance, Budget and National Planning and represented by the Minister of State, Budget and National Planning, the Governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, the Executive Chairman of the Federal Inland Revenue Service, the Executive Chairman of the Federal Inland Revenue Service, the Chairman of the Nigeria Governors Forum, the Director General of the Budget Office of the Federation, the Director General of the Debt Management Office, and the Statistician General of the National Bureau of Statistics, the Senior Special Assistant to the President on Sdgs, the UN Resident Coordinator, Resident Representative of the United Nations Development Programme, the Head of Development Cooperation of the European Union Mission, the Resident Representative of the International Monetary Fund for the World Bank, and the co-chair of the Private Sector Advisory Group. And that is how much we can take on the program this week. Remember, you can always watch this program and other episodes by subscribing to our YouTube channels on youtube.com/FreshNewsTV and youtube.com/Agenda2030TV. You can also watch this program live on Facebook. Log on to www.facebook.com/FreshNewsNG and www.facebook.com/Agenda2030TV. Follow us on all our social media platforms at Agenda2030TV on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. Remember to drop your comments and share with your contacts. Do use the hashtag #Agenda2030 and #Agenda2030TV. Do keep a date with us next week for another insightful episode. Thank you for staying with us.
Agenda 2030. As a successor framework for the Millennium Development Goals, the global community rolled out a bigger, deeper, and more encompassing framework called the Sustainable Development Goals, designed to transform our world, lift the poor out of poverty, as well as ensure inclusive and healthy society. On Agenda 2030, we take you on a media trip to the global destination of the future we want. With everyone on board, we focus on the people and their struggle, the civil society and their agitations, the government and her development effort, the Global Development Agenda, its 17 goals and 169 targets. We bring you all the deliberations, insightful conversations, and high-level partnerships on the road to global destination. Agenda 2030, showing on this channel. Agenda 2030, leaving no one behind.